we try to do before this, I was just about to say, we're just going to get a recording if everyone is fine with this. Now we could carry on, and we'll have a bit of ground rules as well. Just make sure that you keep the conversations as safe for work as possible. We try to support everyone, and we have time for everyone's questions as well. Again, the first lineup is going to be like this. We're going to have a few people from the YMCA having a bit of a talk before the program will start. Then we're going to have our guest. She'll deliver a lovely talk with regards to digital youth work and how we could actually use the tools that we have right now to better our work. And at the end, of course, we'll have a Q&A session. We'll carry on till the very last couple of questions. We'll have a small debate, a conversation. And of course, we'll do a small activity at the end, just to take home fun activity that we'll enjoy. So if everyone's ready for this, this has been my very short, long introduction. Just before we get into our keynote speaker, I would like to introduce to you our lovely sector general from YMCA Europe, Juan Simón Iglesias. He is our honorable guest to give a bit of a talk about what the YMCA does in the context of young people and youth empowerment. So please, Juan, feel free to give us a few words and introduce yourself for our audience.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Andy. And this will be a very, very, very short note from my side, a couple of minutes, not as usual. You know, I'm dangerous when I have the opportunity of talking. That's not the case. We are here to listen to all of you and to the input and to follow the workshop. But I just wanted to say on behalf of YMCA Europe, a big thank you to the consortium, to all of you involved. It's a pleasure, it's an honor to be involved in Always On for Youth. This is a great initiative. We are honored to be part of it. And also when it comes to what you just said, Andy, when you define this workshop as a safe space, that's so important. Even if we are only working online or digitally over the past months, you know, to have these safe spaces within the YMCA enable us to share, to learn, to build actually us together. And just last Saturday, within our executive committee, one of our members said, "No, does YMCA Europe has a digital strategy?" And in fact, we don't have a digital strategy, you know, formally adopted, which is something for us to reflect also internally, you know, how we can take steps. And these kind of initiatives, this kind of workshop, and the program on itself really will allow us to take steps in that direction. At the same time, you know, we, as many of you know, we have just adopted our new strategy a few months ago. We're now fully implementing it. And it's quite an ambitious one. And we talk about relevance, we talk about strengthening relationships, we talk about representation, we talk about resilience. And those 4 R's, as our president Emma Osmundsen always says, this becomes so relevant for all of us. And these kind of experiences, these kind of workshops as the one that you're about to initiate, are one of these spaces in which the 4 R's are actually represented. Through this opportunity, we really feel ourselves represented, we feel ourselves as being relevant, we strengthen our relationship, and we are also working for resilience in the end. So this is all from my side, with the gratitude also to my colleague Marius for his involvement in this, and to all of you. Thank you so much, and looking forward to the outcomes of this session. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you very much for your input and for your talk. I really appreciate it, and it's always insightful to have someone from the senior members of the YMCA coming with some insight on the views of the young people, and it's always good to have this connect. So thank you so much, Juan. As you see, this is what we try in the YMCA. We try to empower young people, and we try to also give you the spotlight. So as you know, we in the YMCA, we have this vision of creating a safe space, making sure that every young person has got the support that they deserve and require at all times. And more of this and more about what we stand for in this community is going to be presented by my colleague, Dan Carpo, which is the president of YMCA Romania. He will have a few words with regards to the project, with regards to Always On for Youth. And whenever you're ready, Dan, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to speak with these beautiful people present today. I would like to say hello to everyone on behalf of YMCA Romania, and of course on behalf of the consortium, like the group of people, and you will see the consortium presented very shortly. I would like to say thank you, Juan, for opening, and the opening speech was fantastic as usual, and you kept it short, and I really appreciate that, so I will not make it long myself. So with the help of Marius, I will go on presenting the project. As you already know, probably, it's Always On for Youth. And since we started with this name, we are always on. So 24/7, we are connected with youth, at least online. The project is co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program by the European Union. And as you will see shortly, the consortium is formed of YMCA Europe and the beneficiary YMCA Romania, Young Initiative, CCIVS, Nadejda, and of course, this is the short presentation of it. As you can see, the logos are there and the beautiful logo of the project that we are really fond of. The next slide will be a short introduction of what is happening actually. Now you have the full names of the consortium. So the beneficiary, the first one is the Federation of YMCA Romania. It's the best YMCAs in Romania are under this umbrella of the Federation. Young Initiative Association from Romania, Sdrujenie Nadejda from Bulgaria, the Coordinating Committee for International Voluntary Service from France, and YMCA Europe, located in Belgium, and we are looking forward to visit them soon. The aim is to increase the capacity of youth organization from the countries put there: Romania, France, Bulgaria, Belgium, and of course, most of the countries. But these are the networks that we want to establish. And the main objective of the consortium is to serve the young people, including vulnerable youth, through digital youth work and digital inclusion, and of course, safety practices. And this is our aim. And the next slide will be more specific. This is the journey we are taking on. You saw that we have some interesting names for all of the slides, and I really appreciate the work that has been done to make this. Always On for Youth journey started in April 2021, and it was one of the best starts. After a lot of online work, we finally managed to meet, and we had a great time, even with the masks on and the distance and everything, and I'm looking forward to see you again. We started the community of learning in Baia Mare. We did a kickoff meeting, and we started our research. And the TPM1 was actually in my hometown, Baia Mare. And we had incredible visitors, and we look forward to have them again in our beautiful city. We also started shortly after that the MOOC course and the gamification pack. So we will talk about that a lot in the future. And now we are packing shortly to meet in Brussels for the TPM2. It will be in Brussels, Belgium, and we are going to meet with people from YMCA Europe there and start the planning. After that, exactly after 1 year, in April 2022, we are preparing the TPM3 in Bucharest. Before that, we will have the launch of the research. After that, we'll have a training course, digital youth work, also in Bulgaria, with the TPM4 in Bansko, Bulgaria, also one of the best places to be. I hope that there will be also some snow in the mountains. And then we'll have the launch of the MOOC course and the gamification pack already probably on, and we can play around a bit with the gamification. And we'll have the TPM5 in Paris, France, and that's also a place to be, especially after this time that we've been in lockdown and so far from these important cities in Europe. Then the multiplier events will be in Bulgaria, Belgium, and Romania. It will be, of course, a lot of online work, and I'm looking forward also for that and meet with the youth from all these great countries. And April 2023, end of story, a lot of tears, and the end of the project. As you could see, we can move really quickly in this journey, but it will take more than that. We still have a lot of work behind us. Let's move to the next slide, which is one of the important part. It's called traveling, and we'll have a lot of plans, increasing the capacity of at least 100 youth workers, then also increase the capacity of at least 25 youth organizations from 4 European countries, raise awareness. Also, we have a very round number, 100 youth workers from minimum 4 European countries. But of course, you present here today, you can ask more questions and we can look forward to work together since we can do it online. And the main idea is to develop a collaborative learning space focused on digital inclusion and digital youth work between 5 EU-based youth organizations. But as I was saying, we can make more than that. The plan is in the project to connect 5, but if we can make more, nobody will complain. I'm pretty sure Andy is looking forward to count more than 5 EU countries over there. Yes, and the next slide is the 5th, the lucky 5. We are talking about the co-creators. So, you know, we can do planning, but the important part is the people that are involved in the project. It's youth workers willing to learn more about this topic, being always on for youth, and also the cyber technologies that we will have at hand. Youth organizations who are planning to develop or create their digital youth work capacity and strategy. And with this, we can help a lot because in the meantime, we learned a lot about this. Youth workers interested in engaging in digital youth work activities. And for this, we have a beautiful guest today, and she will probably steal the audience with great ideas that she will be sharing then in a moment. And of course, teachers interested in digital activities and getting a strong inspirations from digital youth work and digital inclusion practices. And probably this is the best part, is that we can have all a big place in this game of youth workers, teachers, and of course the beneficiaries being youth. And the next slide, thank you, Marius, is actually explaining a bit of what we are going to do. But mostly I will start with the end of the slide, join the community. And for this, you only have to send an email to digitalyouthwork@gmail.com. And you can just send it today after our meeting. Just say hello, just say something, and we will be glad to keep you on a very short list of friends that we can update. European network will be dedicated to youth workers willing to learn more about digital youth work, digital safety and inclusion, and that's not all of it. We can learn from each other many more things than this. And also what we look forward is the collaborative learning space, and we'll be focused on digital inclusion and digital youth work. And as you can see, the plan is to connect the youth workers from Europe and learn about new tools. I mean, during our first kickoff meeting with Andy and with the friends from all the countries, we discovered a lot of new tools, and we got involved in some of them. I have some new accounts, and since then I've been using them also for work. So this is very cool. And also, we would like to see an increasing in the capacity of the competences of the youth workers and the organizations involved. At least the locals look forward to be involved in these kind of activities. They keep asking Andy and myself when we meet in the streets. And the next one, it's also important to see what will be the creations of Always On for Youth. And basically, these are the 3 pillars of what we plan to do. shaping digital inclusion and safety in a post-pandemic world. We look forward to call it a post-pandemic world. Also, the MOOC course on digital inclusion and safety, and of course, digital youth work, gamification, learning pack. Everybody's looking forward to play a bit online. And you have a small presentation of these pillars. We were talking about the research involving the minimum of 100 youth workers, so we plan probably even more. Reach marginalized youth through digital means. In the meantime, also in our country, and we know for sure in many countries, we do have well-connected people because at national level, we have some projects with connectivity, and they even give away some IT devices and some tablets to the youth. And of course, digital safety, well-being, social media dependence. We will talk about this shortly, and of course, more specifically when we arrive there with the project. And the next slide, it's a slide that everybody looks forward to see. What is the plan? What is about in this digital youth work training course? We talk about empowerment. We talk about learning, sharing, development, safe space. And at least 30 youth workers, teachers, and youth practitioners from Europe will be involved in this. And something is really happening today, because I looked around a bit and I know a lot of faces, and I'm looking forward to see them involved in this activity. And the next slide, it's actually the destination, the young people. We will start a tornado consisting of confident and motivated and competent youth workers that will take care of the young people, since they are caught in the twirl of the system around them. The capacity of building on digital youth work strategies, the training course, the MOOC course, the gamification learning pack, and by the end of it, together with the young people, we will do research together. As you can see, we have some incredible numbers, 250 young people as co-creators for these intellectual outputs. And this is something that we dare to call it our project, and we look forward to see more than 250 people, because it will be spreading probably by the time of the research. The 5 gamification tool I was speaking about earlier, they will be easy after that used by the youth organizations to engage interactively and use them to develop digital inclusion strategies. And the rest you can get a glimpse of. And of course, coming back to numbers, 30 youth workers that will be involved in a topic related to skills and how they will be able to co-create innovation labs to improve our intellectual outputs, of course, together with teachers. And this is the main idea of the destination of the project. And of course, we are looking forward to have more of you with us. And by the next slide, you will understand what's the purpose of it. These are the websites, and I will call all of them. It's YMCA.ro, CCIVS.org, younginitiative.org, Nadejda-CRD.com, and YMCAEurope.com. There is a slash there in Nadejda. But you can see them, you can make a print screen, and you can stay in contact with us. You saw the email at the beginning, and of course, Andy will be sharing it with us if everybody would like to see it. But if you look for Always On for Youth, you will see it. And last but not least, we always have a motto with our projects, and this is how we usually work. And this time, as we work to create light for others, we naturally light our own way and light ourselves somehow on fire, working for youth 24/7. And with this quote, I would like to pass the mic to Andy, and thank you for listening. And this is the project that you all signed up for, and thank you for being today with us. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you so much, Dan. It has been very insightful, and as you can see, there's quite a lot to take in at the moment right now. But trust me, as we develop our journey together, it's going to be more clearer, and we're going to get more excited about this. As you know, on our platform, we also have a small engagement team. So we try on a weekly basis to get content out there and try to make it as interesting as possible. As Dan said, we try to stay as close as possible with all our participants. Once more, thank you. I would just want to introduce Diliana, our team leader in matters of engagement. She has a lot to say with regards to like engagement and what it takes to engage a community online. Just a few words if you'd like to share with us, Diliana.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good time. I will not keep the mic so long. I just wanted to welcome you on this nice event. This is the very first event that we are hosting, and we are designing it especially for young leaders, for youth workers who are really dedicated on the topics. One thing I'm going to share is that this is the first from a series of these kind of events. And we will be very happy to also to receive a good feedback from your side. So we try to shape it better with the next guest speakers, because this digital youth work community, it's something really innovative. This is something which we are building now at the moment with you guys. And it's very important that you also share your experience, your feedback, and everything all together. So we are really a good community of young professionalists. Thank you very much. I would like to continue with giving the mic back to Andy to introduce you our speaker, because we know that you are here also because of her. So Andy.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Diliana. Always a pleasure to have someone like you in our team. And thank you for the insight. Of course, now this is the moment. This is what we came for. This is our expert talking right now. Let the drum rolls go. We're going to introduce our guest speaker today, our very first guest speaker. We're talking about a person who's very, very skilled in digital youth work. She's a consultant. She's a trainer. She has a long list of young people who she probably has touched and inspired along these long journeys. Without further ado, I want to introduce you, Ms. Dana Jupp.
Wow,
please, Dana, introduce yourself and feel free to join us.
Right. Well, that's a lot to live up to, Andy. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I'm excited. I've been doing digital youth work in some ways since around 2008, and I always love having a chance to talk with other youth workers who understand, who get the idea that digital might be a great way of supporting our young people. So I've got a wee few slides on something. Oh, no, wait a minute. Right, so can everyone see my slide?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, perfectly.
If you have any trouble, please, give a shout in the chat. Basically, what I just want to spend a few minutes talking about is ultimately the most important thing in digital youth work. Yes, there's young people, but the reality is, if we don't feel comfortable doing it, if we don't feel confident and competent, then it's all pointless. Just a wee bit about me. As I said, I've been doing this since about 2008. And then I moved into post-grad research and tried to do a PhD looking at what digital youth work is and how it's influenced the nature and purpose of what youth work really is. Along the way, I've been delivering trainings, working with different organizations to just raise the profile and confidence of youth workers. Very early on, I knew that I was never going to be on the hottest new platforms or have the latest kit, but I always knew, as I say, I could learn or earn those, but I had to understand the what and the why of what it is in order for us to be able to do that. And that's That's how I approach digital youth work. Briefly, for me, this is the what, why, and how of what it is. We're still doing youth work. We're still supporting them in the same types of ways around many of the same issues. We're simply doing it in digital places or on devices. It's important because digitalization in society isn't going away, and we have to be able to equip all of our young people, whether they're on the university track or moving straight into jobs, or who are disengaged from school, education, training, employment. We have to be able to be there for all of them in order to help them understand how they can take their place in society, especially given the whole Facebook metaverse thing, which if somebody wants to ask a question, we can have a brief chat about that one. It's also then looking at how we use it, whether it's a tool we're doing. You're supporting a young person who's at risk of being made homeless. You're talking back and forth on your phone, doing the same type of support that you would do if the person came into your office and you were sitting there with them. It's also as it's the content, which, it's gaming, it's using Instagram, it's whatever. Also as outreach, simply to reach out and potentially meet other young people who aren't yet necessarily ready or able to engage with the service that we can provide. But none of that matters. All of the tornado, Dan, I was really intrigued by that diagram. None of it though really matters if we ourselves, if we aren't ready to confront digital in our personal and our professional lives. We don't have to all be experts, but we do need to have some level of it, some level of digital confidence and abilities. So every time I do a chat, every time I talk with youth workers, managers, whoever, at the end of the day, all I want to do is to come out of it knowing that I've helped some youth workers feel that bit more confident, help them learn one or two new things. The biggest fear, and one of the biggest barriers rather, that we have is fear of the unknown, and at the same time, sort of a myth of superconfidence. We feel that we need to be Superman, we need to be Superwoman in order to support our young people in digital contexts. Do we necessarily have that parallel though in our face-to-face work? Are we as hard on ourselves if we're in a youth center and a young person presents that, that is having trouble with drug and alcohol substance misuse? We may not be experts, but we'll have the skills and the knowledge to be able to support them in the moment, talk with them, and help move them to someone that can give them the specialized support that they need, without beating ourselves up about not knowing everything about substance misuse or homelessness or employability. But because we have a fear and uncertainty of digital, we suddenly have built it into our minds into this huge thing. And that's such a barrier for people. One of the biggest, there's a phrase in English, we don't know what we don't know, where you don't know what's out there, so all you can do is worry about this massive nothingness. One of the ways that I found to try and confront that fear with youth workers is in the next slide. So I've got this little countdown here, 3, 2, 1, because you'll see the next slide. No matter how confident you feel, how well you think you know digital issues, there's going to be something on this sheet, this slide that I've been collecting it for like 10 years. There are still things on there that I don't consider myself an expert in. I could brag, I could make you think I do. I could talk for 3 minutes on anything. And myself, I had to add one last week because I came across a term that I hadn't heard before. So I'm going to count to 3 and we're going to move to the next slide. I want you to look at it and in the chat, say one word. Does it scare you? Does it excite you? Does it worry you? How you feel about it? And then we can have a look in the chat to see how people feel about what's there. And then we could also, if we've got a few minutes, we could try it. So that's the slide. Lots of scary stuff, I know. There are some fun bits on here. Have a think, post in the chat a word, either how the slide makes you feel, if there's one issue that really grabs you, something that you want to ask a question about or have a comment on. Anybody? There we go. Come on. 12 new, yay. Provoked, wonderful. Yes, there is a lot there. Believe me, I know. While those are coming up, I'll just quickly, overwhelming, yes. I always say, I don't intend for this slide to overwhelm anyone. The ultimate purpose of the slide is to begin to confront the we don't know what we don't know. This slide, quite literally, in the shape of your screen, is starting to create boundaries about what digital youth work is. What do we think we need to know? I agree, I'm happy Google exists too. Just real quick, a couple of ones. I was intrigued by, what is it, always open? Because it's the first time that I've come across that. And 4 or 5 years ago, I had discussions, did some research with young people. And that was one of the biggest complaints that they had. They understood that as workers, we were only answering during our working hours, but they still found it frustrating. So I'll be interested to find out more about the always on. Importantly, down here at the bottom, to them, it's not online or offline, it's just life. Work-life balance, that one's even more challenging just now, simply because we are where we are. We have to be strict with ourselves and turn off whatever device you use for work. That you, in your mind, you're very clear that you're either at work or you are not at work. And it's hard, but it's something that we can learn for ourselves. It's also been something that we can share with our young people, because that's one of the things, one of the points that's come out of lockdown, is young people feeling overwhelmed by having spent so much time on it. The meta, ooh, cyborg, do I have cyborg on there? Ooh, I'll have to add it if I don't. Metaverse, scary thing. In a book 11, 12 years ago, Mark Zuckerberg said, only giving them privacy controls until they realize they don't need privacy. 11 years later, he's rolling out Meta and this concept of the metaverse, which is really scary. They're trying to marry our online and virtual lives together. The pace of change is definitely challenging. As I said, you know, I'm reading digital stuff every day. Last week I came across doxing as a word that I'd never heard. Okie doke. Keeping an eye on the time and know that I can ramble. Let's move on to the doxing. Doxing is apparently when you share enough information about a person online that someone else can take that information and then go find that person. either and doing it maliciously so that they can find out all of their social media streams so that they could engage, harass them digitally. Can also be about sharing physical shape information, you know, where a person lives, where they work, things like that. And it is a big problem because it's another way of taking privacy away from people. And that's one of the big challenges of one of the bigger digital context issues that we have to try and understand. Okay, hold on. So to wrap up, these are just some things to remember. What I always want to do is draw parallels between the skills, the youth work skills that we already have, the confidence that we have in doing face-to-face work. The example I gave earlier of supporting a young person who's homeless. They've got a phone. You're still giving them the same type of support, just in a different way. And so if we can use the confidence, if we can use the skills that we already possess to draw that line in the sand and be like, right, I know how to do youth work. I know I can learn how to use this platform, this device, that game, whatever. It's about us as individuals, personally and professionally, being honest with ourselves. We may not like having technology in our personal lives, and that's okay. Unfortunately, we have to engage with it professionally, because if we're meant to be working with young people where they are, a big part of where they are is online. Do we all need to be experts? No. As I said on the scary slide, which I think Andy had said, whenever I'd emailed it, I'd said, no, there's a scary looking slide. Andy said that was the most exciting one. We don't all have to be experts. We don't have to know everything about that. We just need to have the skills and the confidence to do what we need to do within our role. So we shouldn't beat ourselves up for not knowing everything. As I've said, feeling confident about the what and why to help us understand how to do the how better. And the only way that we can do this is by doing exactly what we're doing today, what this community is meant to be doing, creating spaces to learn, share, and support other agencies, practitioners, and how we can use that to better support our young people. So going back, this was what we had talked about, the you. This is you in digital youth work. We need to be self-aware of how we see technology in our lives, how we see it in our professional lives. We need to have the appropriate level of knowledge and skills to do the work that we need to do. Should we be pushing ourselves to learn more? Of course. There's always something new, something exciting, something interesting that we want to learn digitally. But we mustn't let the digital develop into a monster coming out behind your screen. Lastly, it's about making sure that we feel comfortable and that we're making positive choices. Are we downloading pirated videos, things like that? But it's about just being digitally wise and digitally competent. Right, that's the end. There are a few sites here that you might find helpful. There's actually another one. I'll update this a bit. I just realized I've forgotten one, and then I'll send it to Andy so that everyone can get it as well. Okie doke, that's that. Stop sharing. Questions?
Thank you so much, Dana. That was really, really, really insightful. My take home was definitely the what and why leads to the how. I really love that. That's really insightful.
Yes.
if you'd like to, we can go to the section part, to the question part. So we can, I basically gathered, we gathered a couple of questions beforehand, just when the guys registered. And if you're happy with this, I can start with with these, and then we can carry on if there's any others.
Yes.
Okay, so
I
the
hope I
first
didn't
question.
talk too fast.
Oh.
Sorry.
Basically, the first question was, how important do you think it is for youth workers to promote themselves and their work rather than young people online?
Well, as I said, if we don't have understanding and confidence in using digital, if we don't have that in our professional lives in ways like this, well, then we're letting our young people down. It's important that we learn about how to use Instagram, how to use the new PS5, things like that. But it's also important in any field, professionalizing, continuing professional development, especially because digital is new to a lot of people, in that there's this whole big thing, a digital native versus a digital immigrant, which basically you're young enough that you've always known digital, or you're old enough that you remember a time before digital. We have to push ourselves even more and more explicitly with digital, so that we're feeling creative in ourselves, in our job, and that we're supporting our young people.
Absolutely. Thank you for that input. It's definitely something to think about, especially now in this times that we live in. And also, there's something that we came across a couple of weeks ago with regards to young people not being confident enough. They have the tools, they have the skill set, but they don't know how to deal with like self-doubt, and there's that imposter syndrome that comes up most of the times. Do you have any tips on how to empower young people in that endeavor? Or,
well, to work with young people to address those, it's I'll go back, where are we at? This slide right here, the Youth 5 Rights. I don't know in what countries it was done, but I know that it was done here in Scotland, and I know that it was done in other countries across the EU, where they worked with children and young people to identify what they thought they deserved. And so if we look at those, the right to remove, the right to know, if we can support young people developing their critical digital literacy skills, then that will help them improve their confidence in buying online, in setting up a YouTube channel, in whatever way. It all comes back down to the what and the why. If we can support young people in understanding that, they're going to be able to do whatever. Depending on what research you want to believe, anywhere between 60 and 85% of children in early education up to like the age of 10, 12, the jobs that they're going to be doing haven't even been invented yet. We don't know that they're going to need them. So teaching them critical digital literacy, helping them build that, is the most important thing I feel that we can do as youth workers.
absolutely, definitely. And since you're mentioning these sort of engaging young people in our day-to-day activities, and as youth workers, there's also a bit of a disconnect between generations as well that you might have noticed. There's actually one of the questions is addressing this, is like, what do you think about TikTok, and how can we basically make it more interesting for youth, and how can we use platforms as TikTok, for instance? This was a very interesting question.
ultimately, you know how there's in youth work, there's meant to be that balance of partnership. You know, you're working together. It's about talking with them. How are they using TikTok? What are they watching? How could we help them develop their digital footprint by setting them up on TikTok? I know one of the disconnect being if as an individual, as a private person or as a professional, TikTok isn't really your thing. Unfortunately, right now, TikTok is where those young people are at. And we simply have to find ways of, if that's where they want us to be, we have to find ways of being there. And as far as what to do when we get there, what are our young people telling us? What kind of big picture issues have you worked with in your young people? You can be looking at them in face-to-face in a room. You can be doing them with short videos on TikTok. But if TikTok will go away and there'll be another new one to come along. So it is sometimes like you're riding too far down the wave. You can't influence it. You can only go where the wave is going to take you. And that's how I see where we need to be with young people.
For sure. Yeah, that's very insightful. Yeah, you if you go that path, you'll definitely go with the wave, and probably you have to kind of create some sort of, you have to focus on the connection with young people, because once you have that connection, whatever platform, TikTok, Facebook, or whatever comes in the way, you will always be able to adapt. But it's always the
you know,
connection.
how often do you have that a young person shows you how to do something, a young person teaches you something, and you see the look on their face like, oh yeah, you didn't know that, you know, whatever. And for me, that's one of the, it happens more often digitally. And so that's, I just let it roll off my back. Fine, yeah, laugh at me, I don't know it, but teach me.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. We have to kind of be a bit more open-minded as well. And I think we're going with the questions as well around this whole section of open-mindedness. We have to think of basically us as youth workers. What kind of tools can we use in order to sort of make the experience of young people a bit more interactive as well? That would be another question.
Well, in all honesty, as I've said, I'll send along the slides. I have a different slide that has a list of that kind of stuff. So can I answer that question by saying I'll send the slide? But there are, I know like you guys are going to be using Mentimeter. There's another one called Padlet, another one called Retro, where it can be, it's like an online whiteboard. And you can use it. It's a great, the tools like that are great because you can do it anonymously. And in like within a Zoom, you can't have anything that's anonymous, but you can have one of those platforms up on the side and people can go and write whatever they want to write, come back, and the anonymity is still there. So that's one example of tools that I find very useful.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a very good tip. Yeah, for sure. That would be very, very insightful for everyone. We will also collect all the details in the comments as well. So either at the end of it, you can pass it on to us. We will also use essentially Mentimeter as well. And we have Padlet as well in the community. And we're going to try to use a bit more of that as well. So for sure, yeah, very good tips. Let's see, with regards to the questions, there's a couple of questions again. How can I still remain close to my kids when they tend to prefer TikTok or different sorts of apps, which I consider not to be that useful?
You know, again, it goes back to that. While we can try and influence them to come to an app that we feel more comfortable using, more confident using, I know that some of that confidence and worry can be about security and safety of young people. The argument for that could be, yes, that was a house party. Yes, there's problems at house party. Well, then should we as youth workers be on house party, teaching them how to deal with the problems that are on house party, things like that.
Mhm. Yes, and also we also have another question with regards to the same participation sort of field. So how do we increase participation, or how do we engage or make sure that of all the participants who say they're willing to join one of our events, that we make sure that they actually enjoy and they're 100% into the conversation as well. Some people said that, there's always a ratio of 1 to 6 of actual people to participate. So that's, again, another issue that we have.
Sometimes, is that ratio about the number of people turning up or the number of people who are talking and engaging with what you're saying? As far as getting people involved when they're there with you, it's about having other ways for them to engage, as being able to go onto Padlet and anonymously say stuff. Having, if they get like a takeaway kit that has art supplies in it, then everyone can draw a picture or share a photo from their phone, and they're still engaging. They're just that they may not feel as pressured to be speaking, but still be able to be involved in the discussion. And as far as getting them to turn up after they've booked, that again comes down to are we sure that that's where they want us to be?
Yeah, because maybe that's not the right platform for them.
Exactly, and it may not be the right platform for the group you have this month or for the next 3 months. I worked on an employability course. We had a new cohort every 4 months, and one group, a Facebook group, was the way to go, the way forward. The next one, about half of them weren't on Facebook, and so we had to use WhatsApp with that group because that's where they all were. So it's about being flexible based on the needs of your young people.
Yeah, for sure. I think flexibility and this resilience is something that should go hand in hand these times. And yeah, on the topic of flexibility, I think there's another question. What types of changes have you observed in digital youth work since the pandemic started? Obviously, this could be a very wide one. Yeah.
Well, in early 2013, I came up with the phrase that digital youth work should be as well as, not instead of. And I beat that dog to death. And then everybody turned the lights off last March, and suddenly digital was the only way to be doing youth work. So I got proven wrong. The biggest change has been that organizations that previously poo-pooed digital as a way of going forward, seeing it as not real youth work, they were forced to engage with it on some level. Organizations, as things opened back up, some of them are pulling back from digital because they don't feel that they're comfortable doing it, that they get much out of it, that the nature of the work they're doing doesn't really work with digital. That's fine. But it would be sad to lose all of the new knowledge that was gained as a result of the last 18 months, because there was so much. I mean, I run a Facebook group for digital youth workers, and one of the members in that group, every day, 7 days a week, they shared a video of something to do digitally with their young people. And they did that every day for best part of a year. It's a small organization. It's one full-time guy, one part-time guy, and I think a volunteer. They amassed 250,000 views on their videos because they had taken the chance and jumped into it whole hog. And so that it's inspired some people to really take it in a way that all of my previous bashing, all of, YMCA, youth work agencies in every country pushing it, but most people saying, yeah, we'll get to that. That's what I hope is the biggest change.
Pretty sure people and organizations will take everything much more seriously now, and digitalization as a tool, not just a tool, it's basically going to be everything from now. I mean, this is going to be the way we're going to work. So for sure, there's it will be a pattern. I think there's going to be a change now, as I've noticed as well. People who were very lenient to start, now they're very keen to, or they have to. So yeah. For sure. And with regards to the, again, there's another question that we received with regards to the digitalization. Is digitalization the answer in working with young people during the COVID times?
It was a necessity. I acknowledge freely that digital isn't always the best way to engage and support any particular young person. But it does play a very important part in a youth worker's bag of tools. As an example, I did some research in an LGBT youth organization. I interviewed staff and volunteers individually and 4 different groups of young people, and every group, every young person to the letter, without any prompting from me, said the most important thing, it can give that young person the safety, the distance of the digital construct of not seeing their reaction. It could give a young person much more quickly the confidence to say, as an example, I think I might be trans, in a way that for them to be doing that face-to-face could take months or years to develop a relationship. So there is incredible power in youth work done digitally that meets a need. And there is a need for digital youth work, just as there's a need for outdoor education.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm 100% on this one. It's basically digitalization became a need. It's basically everything now.
Yeah.
And there's another question that I've received just now. It was basically directed towards me from Antonio. Thank you so much, Antonio. It's basically, as it's a long one, so I tried to summarize it. By the way it looks, he's asking if there's any methods or means to kind of like put youth or educate young people in the digital youth work and not make it in a way that is like a classroom sort of environment. So how can we make it a bit more youth friendly or less official to pass it on? Antonio, let me know if this is kind of like your take on it.
It's not about sitting down and developing a piece of work and actively saying that it's critical digital literacy. We are in doing this. We will do this, so they do that. They learn that skill. It isn't, it has to be a much more subtle task. It's looking at Instagram as an example. Instagram, it's easy to use. Everybody has it. You can be taking pictures and you're having conversations about body image, about personal development, about their online footprint, about sharing themselves online. So it's about thinking what you want to do, what you want to get out of, what you want a young person to get out of that opportunity. and building something around it that's digitally fun, that's digitally engaging. Gaming is a great way forward, coding, and like social media apps. Because yes, you're doing that and you're having fun, but at the same time, you're really talking about the meat, the nuts and bolts of critical digital literacy. You wouldn't, you would never say those words to a young person, but amongst your coworkers, amongst the development team, that's when you're having that kind of discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope, Antonio, this answers your question as well. Also, we encourage everyone to ask questions now in the chat. Basically, we're very happy to take a few more questions. Again, this is going to be an open discussion, so Dana's here for us to basically share ideas, insights, and of course, on what we've discussed so far. I'm pretty sure resistance to change has always been something that people are challenged at all times.
Yeah.
Especially if you're used to do things in a certain way. And if you'd like to discuss, or if you guys want to jump in the conversation as well, how do you kind of overcome this resistance to change in your organizations or institutions?
Being forced to do it in a lot of ways was the best litmus test that we could have had. While I would have never, ever wanted COVID, the deaths, the disruption, the destroying of lives, I would never have wanted that. It happening could be the best thing that's happened to digital youth work, because it forced everyone to think more creatively and more innovatively. Will that, the challenge then is how we maintain, how we build on that momentum.
Yeah, and how we carry on from here on. What is the roadmap? Because when you don't have a clear vision, you don't have like compasses anymore. You don't really know.
And exactly, and a challenge that I know was mentioned several times in different chats was the board, your board members, your trustees, whatever management, the whatever management committee, your board of directors, your trustees, whatever it's called in your organization, the resistance there was in a lot of ways one of the biggest challenges. And I had several youth workers coming to me saying, can you point me towards stuff about digital trustees? How can we do this? And that's something that I'm exploring with an organization that I sit on the board of, a youth project. And we're looking at developing a digital trustee so that at every level within the organization, there's somebody who's championing digitalism.
Mm-hmm. I think this is a very good initiative. And when you have promoters, when you have people in your organization who are very keen to, they're like the go-to person when you want to have, like a training or a workshop going on. I think this is an amazing opportunity. And sometimes it's not the person that you would on a daily basis go to. Sometimes it's the person who's in doing different things that you don't even know. You're not even aware that he's taking a course on something. So I feel like this is, again, something that kind of brings us together. Yeah. And it's for sure something that from now on, as teams, will be more close together and we'll ask much more questions of each other. And definitely. I was also talking with some of my friends, my colleagues. There's another phenomenon that is well known. Probably you guys have heard it. If you want to put in a chat, if you've experienced this as well, just raise your hand or write something there. It's called digital fatigue or digital tiredness. When you spend way too much time on, you know, on your computer, on your screens, and basically your work-life balance is basically becoming one, and it's basically your digital and personal life is like one. You can write it down in the chat if you experienced this. How do you sort of, what would you say to people? How do you keep that balance as well? Because that's something that not a lot of people are discussing, and there's going to be more conversations about it as well.
You buy a book called How to Break Up with Your Phone. You set it on your nightstand. You look at it and you say, I better start reading that. Yeah, I better start reading that tomorrow. And what, 5 weeks later, you still haven't started it. It's something that we really do have to be proactive about. And it isn't technology. The addiction to digitalness is it is quite literally, it's your brain becomes addicted to it in a similar way as any drug or alcohol. Your brain, so you click on a page on Wikipedia and you read that and it gives you a hyperlink and you go, ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? And 4 hours later, you suddenly followed a bouncing ball across 50 different wiki pages. Your brain, every time you return and you click and get the result you want, your brain releases a hit of dopamine. And it does this on the journey from your nerve through your brain to the nerves. And it does that 68 times in 3 hours. Eventually your brain says, I'm tired of doing that. And it rewires your brain to make the connection more quickly. So digital addiction really is something to think about. If you can cold turkey it, fantastic. There are books out there, there are websites that talk about how to try and get a better work-life balance. And I'm the expert. I've got the book sitting upstairs, still haven't read it, but it's ultimately on my list of New Year's resolutions. So we shall see.
I do that all the time with my books as well. I'm sure we're not the only ones.
I also work in a library. My to-be-read pile is frightening.
It's actually very insightful. We have a few comments as well from the community. They were saying that there's basically sometimes when you experience digital fatigue, you can take a day off. It really helps, which is, again, a very good tip. I realized it as well. Sometimes, you know, your work-life balance is not there. So sometimes just taking like half an hour, even to a day or half a day off without screens or computers or phones, it's very hard, but when you do that, it really, really helps as well to get your brain rewired and ready.
Exactly. I'm a big Kindle user, and I started realizing that and then my library also has an ebook reader app. I was using it on my iPad, and I would just read a few pages, and then I'll just go check and see what someone said on Facebook or whatever. And I, for my birthday, wanted a Kindle Fire. So I have a tablet that all it is Kindle and my library's e-reader app. And it's amazing. Birthday was the 1st of October. I've finished 6 books.
Wow.
It's been years since I've read 6 books in 7 weeks. And for me, that was a tactic that I've used to break myself from playing mindless games on my iPad. It's still a device, but it's a strategy to help me cope. So that's what it is about, finding strategies, being firm with yourself, taking, mornings off, days off, weekends off. I have one friend who, her husband, the 2 parents and the 4 kids, every night, 10 o'clock, phones go in a basket on the kitchen counter. And that's that.
I think that's the problem. Basically, we have all these devices, we have access to everything, but not knowing how to use them properly and allowing them to take over is certainly something that we have to steer clear of and try to strategize to work towards utilizing these devices better.
It's a training gap that I bought the book to read the book so that I could start developing some training about how to manage the work-life balance.
Yeah. I honestly, I feel like we had an amazing conversation. It has been, all the community's still here. I'm actually glad that everyone's still engaged and listening. Dana, it was an amazing talk. Thank you so much for the insight and the input. You are really great at this.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much for inviting me. It was great. It was great to talk to everyone. In my slides, you'll see my contact details. Email me. Find me on Facebook. There's a group, Digital Youth Work, Youth Work Done Digitally. Ask me anything. Someone called me the agony aunt of digital youth work last year because everyone in my group was coming to me privately over different problems they were having. So always ready to talk to anybody, always want to do whatever I can to help practitioners and young people. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much once more. We're going to pass on the details down in the comments. So basically in the chat, you can check Dana's digital platform, her contact details, the LinkedIn as well. So you can connect at all times. Basically, before we wrap it up, we're going to have like a very small surprise sort of exercise, something to take home for everyone in this community. We're going to use a tool that my colleague Diliana will introduce as well. Diliana, the mic is yours for a brief presentation.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Dina. It was a really amazing time and a great discussion. Now I would like to invite you to scan this code. I'm going to post it also in the group. And I would like to ask you to give just one word which describes the event for you, for all you guys who joined the event together tonight. Now I'm gonna post it also in the chat so people can get the link if it's easier for you. So don't hesitate to give us some input. Let's see how many people. We already have some seven words, 7 people sharing words.
In the meantime, I would like to encourage Dana to start the podcast, since we were talking about digital and going into the future together. I really think this would be really, really helpful, at least for the people attending today and not only.
One of my digital youth work New Year's resolution is to take that slide and do something with those topics, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a short TikTok video, something. Let's talk about it. I'd love to be.
You have the first submitter here.
Fantastic.
I submitted before it happened.
That's what I like. But
yeah, I will subscribe as well.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good, and listening to what you were presenting, it's actually reliving some of our threats. I wouldn't call them threats, happenings and misfortune at some of them, because before we were talking about digital and everybody was saying, who needs it? Everybody is already on the laptop, on the digital device, whatever. And then you needed it and you didn't have any background in how to use a specific one. You exactly as you said, it's like a kid in a candy shop. I would like some of this and this and this and this and this, and then you forget that you went for bread or whatever. So it's true. Very nice, very nice. You know, you feel like you're not alone in the world. So thank you for that.
Exactly. You're very welcome. Like I said, there's so much potential, and there's so much practitioner, there's so much youth worker potential. People are excited. People want to try it. People want to do more better. And that's the momentum that we want to capture.
How's
Okay,
how's it
so
going, Diliana?
thank you everybody for your vote. Okay, so voting is now closed. Let's see what will be our diagram with words.
Wow.
Wow, yes, we have a lot of inspiring, inspirational, insights, educational, empowering community, very great ideas, concentration, inspiration again, youth, fruitful, change, food for thought. We have enlightening, cooperation, professional, love, good. Thank you everyone for sharing your thoughts here. Thank you very much. To wrap up a little bit, I would like to give you again Dana's contacts, so you can write them down from here, or we posted them a couple of times in the chat. So feel free to join the Facebook group of Digital Youth Work and contact Dana. What we have also prepared for you from our side, from the community, that we are running the Digital Youth Work Community of Learning this month, the month of November. We have dedicated especially to digital tools that people are using daily. We are trying to make a great collection of tools in our platform. So if you're interested in this topic, you can join us. How to join us? The best idea would be to write us an email on digitalyouthworkcommunity@gmail.com. We will post it again in the chat, our contact details. So feel free. We are here to work together to shape this digital world together. Andy?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Diliana, for this last bit of the introduction to the digital community. Thank you for getting everything up to date and set up, and for supporting us. Also, thank you, Marius, from the behind the scene team, supporting again what happened today in this workshop. Again, everyone, thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us till the very end. It has been insightful. Again, Dana, it has been insightful and inspirational as well, as it says in the charts as well here. What could I say other than take care? It has been an amazing time that we managed to get together now. It is a moment that we shared, all of us together. Make sure that you are safe, be blessed, and always be on for youth. Thank you so much, and have a lovely evening, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. It was great to meet you all.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you so much. That was great. Well done.
Thank you.